L'Jarius Sneed, Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard. Did we actually make a splash in free agency? The Titan Bros are here, and we're going to recap everything. Welcome back, Titan Bros, after a week off for quite literally no reason other than we just had a busy weekend, which is a terrible time to do that. We just had free agency. It's the biggest news week since hiring Brian Callahan, and we decided, too busy this weekend, and we just never able to shoot a video. So, apologies.
Yeah, I have no excuse except that we was busy.
I mean, he was at my house. Josiah was at my house on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, all day Sunday. And then Saturday, I don't remember what happened. We just got busy. But anyways, regardless, we're back, and we're not here to talk about us. We're here to talk about free agency. And what a whirlwind of signings they have been. And since we have a lot of names to go over, let's go ahead and hop right in. And this is the 5th video, I think, in a row that I'm using SpoTrack to help me out. So,
and they do not sponsor us.
They do not sponsor us. I'm still hearing a lot of people say Spa Track, but I've also heard a lot of people say Spoke Track. So I don't know. Who cares? But anyways, we're going to go to a couple lesser signings. Like the very first one, Julius Chestnut. Whatever.
Yeah, it is.
Give 0 cares about. Sebastian Joseph Day, the defensive tackle. He's played for the Rams. He's played for the Chargers. He's fine. He's fine.
He's just another body to throw in there. I don't expect him to make a big change, but we needed another guy, so we got him.
Yeah. We also brought in... Yeah, there's not much to say. We brought in Sadiq Charles. He was a O-line 4th-round tackle, I believe, for the Commanders.
Yeah, he's another person. I don't think he's not like signed to be a starter. He's just another body thrown in there.
He doesn't need to be a starter. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if he turns out to be great for us, great. But he hasn't been great in his career, and I don't think he's expected to be a starter. So
yeah, it was like a $2 million contract or something. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't anything big. He's just
I did see some fans like, this is not the answer. I don't think he was meant to be the answer, by the way. So yes, when you're not signing the answer for $2 million.
No. All right, next one on the list is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. We brought him back on a...
I'm okay with that.
I don't think the details have been released on that.
Okay, but our last video, or the one before that, I said I would rather sign him back than Chris Moore, so I am pleased with that. Again, I don't expect him, to be a huge game changer, but I think he's a solid 4 or 5 receiver, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Chris Moore went to the Cardinals, which Monty Austinfort, obviously he was in the Titans building for years and years and years before he got hired as the GM last year for the Cardinals, and he keeps on taking a bunch of Titans castaways. Not sure castaways is always the right word, but like he took Dennis Daly for some reason, signed Chris Moore. He also signed Sean Murphy Bunting. So like people just do that. Kind of like technically Rand's first year's GM. He brought in Arden Key, who had played with the 49ers when he was there, brought in Daniel Brunskill, brought in Aziz Al-Shire, who got a hefty payday. Getting paid $11 million a year. Actually, I think it's $12 million a year for 3 years for the Texans, which that's a lot of money. We only paid him $5 million. So I guess good for him for getting that bag, as they say. But yeah, I didn't say a single thing about Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. It's fine. He's fine. Again, the only reason a lot of people have negative feelings about him, in my opinion, is because he's not a number 1, number 2, or even a number 3 wide receiver, even though that's what he's been.
Have to play that for us.
Right. So it makes him look worse than he really is. If he's a back end 4th, 5th, maybe 6th wide receiver plus special teamers or special teamer, then bring him on. Ah. All right. Next one, we got a new backup quarterback, which means this spells the end of Malik Willis. Good old Mason Rudolph. I'm just vanilla about it.
I'm vanilla. I'll say this. He had his best year last year for the Steelers when he played. He did pretty decent. Bad. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I think there's better. I would rather Jacoby Brissett than him.
Jacoby Brissett came off pretty quick. I think Patriots scooped him up.
Patriots. Yes, kind of think. Oh, went back there. But there's better quarterbacks out there for backups, in my opinion. I know some people don't mind it because again, he had a decent season last year, but I don't know. When I think of him, I just think about him getting his head smashed in. That's about it.
As long as we don't have to play the Browns, right?
Yeah.
He's actually has very much a winning record as a starter, which is weird to me because I don't
they
think
have
he's
a great
good.
defense.
They
Every time he
do.
plays,
They
he's got a
do.
good defense.
Well, let's be honest. If you're a Steeler, no matter what position you play, you pretty much have a winning record because they haven't had a losing record in 15 years or whatever it is at this point. So he's fine. He's fine. Still better than.
This is my opinion. I'm okay with it if Will Levis gets hooked for a game or two and he has to play. But I don't want Mason Rudolph to be a quarterback for 5, 6, 7 games. Then we'll get in trouble.
Imagine if Tannehill stayed unsigned and then like week 3, Willis like tears his ACL or not Willis Levis tears his ACL, and we scoop up Tannehill to be our starter the rest of the year. Which it is weird that like I don't even think he's had visits or calls or hardly anything for Ryan Tannehill. It's been quiet for him. But who cares about him? He's no longer wearing the two-tone blue, so he does not affect our life in any way, shape, or form. Nick Folk. I think that was the right idea.
Yeah.
Our very last video.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah, our last video I said for special teams run it back. Morgan Cox, Nick Folk, Ryan Stonehouse, which is what we're doing. Good job, Ryan. All right, next. Here is the one that I'm probably least excited about. Linebacker Kenneth Murray.
Yeah.
He's an athletic freak. He is a first round debatable. He is a first round pick. But so was Rashaan Evans. We gave him a 2-year contract. Let's see if I can pull up the details here.
While you're doing that, I'll talk.
Good.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. Like, he's been a big bust. If you just want to say it like that, he's a bust. Not working out so well. And yes, it's the classic. Maybe a change of scenery can really help him. But that very rarely ever works. And I'm not too excited. I would rather just keep the linebackers we had last year than bring him here. I just think somehow, yes, he's athletic, but he just never performs like he should. So I'm like, would rather not him. But because I think our linebackers are a little weak right now. We'll talk later. I think our pass rush might be decent. I think our cornerbacks might be decent. But I think our linebackers are weak right now.
Definitely weak right now because right now it's Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, he's been a disappointment as a first-round pick. He's an athletic freak. If we can get some good coaching into him, hopefully. Right. But I will say there's a potential out after the first year. It's a 2-year, like 15, 16-ish. And there's a potential out. So if it's just a 1 year and he just stays kind of whatever, we could move on from him if we need to. So that, in my opinion, that one's fine. It's just agreed. This is the one that I'm the most hot and cold on because I don't know how I feel. Tony Pollard. Part of me says I love it because we're only paying him about $7.25 a year. That's not much. And just like 2 years ago, people were saying Tony Pollard, top 5 running back, maybe do it all. Basically, Christian McCaffrey, like that. Like I know a lot of people were saying he's basically a Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. I think it's a little dramatic. But so part of me says that's awesome that we have him. It's awesome that he's that cheap. I love the fact. My favorite part is him and Tajay Spears are basically a clone. So nobody's gonna know if it's pass play, run play, whatever it is. Because with us, when Derrick Henry was in there, we just knew it was a run play or a play action pass, something like that. Yeah. I like the fact that no matter what running back we have, we'll never it's not gonna tip our hand in any way, shape, or form. But then the reasons I don't like it, people like Jerome Baker is a pretty good middle linebacker. I think he's a 1 year, $7 million. I would rather have him. There was Kendall Fuller. Now we ended up addressing cornerback, which we'll get to later. But Kendall Fuller, really good cornerback. He just signed a 1 or 2 year million deal. 1 or 2 million. Yeah, he's gonna play for 1 million years. A 1 or 2 year deal, making about $8 million, which is super cheap. I'm like, I would have rather had him than Tony Pollard. And then the biggest issue that I have with Tony Pollard is a lot of people are saying he's the starter. So I'm like, so now Tajay Spears is still being our second string running back. And I'm like, is that really? And it was our first signing. It was our first signing. I'm like, is that what we really needed to do?
That part I don't agree with. But I'll say this: Spears is going to get enough starts in the preseason. He's going to get enough snaps in the season that if he's good, as good as I think he can be, he can pass Tony Pollard in the depth chart. If Callahan's not just stuck in his ways, we'll see about that. But I like Tony Pollard overall as the pick because I do like the fact, like you said, whoever comes in, you don't know what we're going to do because those same running backs, they're both a modern day running back. And I think that in itself is what I like. We're moving away from the Derrick Henrys of giving the running back 32 carries, or 30 carries, 25 to 30 carries, and just running like that. We got a modern day running backs who can catch, who can do it all. I like it. I like it a lot. Now, I will say, though, maybe it's a fourth, fifth round. I don't know. Maybe it's just someone on the free agency that's, they don't have to be great. But do you agree that we still need a running back that could get you third and ones and fourth and ones?
Well, I think that's probably Julius Chestnut.
You think that's Chestnut?
Yeah, he's a power back.
Okay, fine.
So
I guess I was hoping someone a little more power, but
I mean, we technically still have Hassan Haskins, and he's literally nothing but a power back.
Yeah. Either way, I like it. I think it's a pretty good move, and if nothing else, it just shows that we're moving our offense from yesterday's offense.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player, and I think he's gonna make a lot of good plays for us. I mean, again, like I said, just a year or two ago, until he had a down year last year, he was considered by some to be a top 10 running back. So that's great, but it's one of those situations where it's too much resources allocated to one position. Where again, I'm thinking we have to get another. Honestly, I'd almost like two new middle linebackers. I would kind of like to replace Arden Key if we can. We still don't have a safety next to Amani Hooker, and we still don't have any tackles. That's the most scary part. But we still don't have any tackles. But then the first thing we do is go out there and drop a bunch of money. Not like a bunch, but we drop some money on another running back when we already had Tajay Spears.
I hope we run them both a decent bit. Like, I'm hoping this not Tony Pollard gets 80% of the carries, because I think what Tony Pollard's biggest weakness was last year is that he was the number one back. He got all the carries, and I think he showed that he's not that. He did better when he was a split the carries, when he was fresh, but he's ran down because he was the number one back. So I'm hoping it's more 50-50. If you want to go 60-40, fine. But I think Tony Pollard is better when he's rested and he's not getting run after run after run. Because that's what, for the first time, he did that last year, and I don't think that was him. And
he was also coming off a broken ankle from the playoffs.
Oh, that too. But I am hoping they split the backs a little bit here, which is what most offenses do, but we haven't done that in a long time.
This is a good problem. But the issue we're having right now on offense, which we haven't said this in probably 10 years, 15, 20, ever, we almost have too many mouths to feed.
Yeah, we have to be selfless, that's for sure.
Yeah, which, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little worried about Calvin Ridley about being selfless. But anyway, we'll get to him later. Yeah, so in the end, I'm fine. Again, I think he's going to make some plays for us. And it's kind of like Tajay Spears when we drafted Tajay Spears, where I'm like, that's not who we needed. That's not the position we needed. But then at the same time, but I also feel like he's probably going to flash more than any rookie on our team, which I kind of, in my opinion, was right. So next we have a name that you will never be able to pronounce.
I struggle with pronouncing names if anyone wants to know.
Yeah, and this one's very much African. Chidobe Awuzie. That's the African. That's the African pronunciation, because they did a show with Mike Keith and Amy Wells trying to figure out how to say it, and he was trying to teach them how to say it. Chidobe Awuzie. But if the English version, he said, if you're speaking in English, it'd be Chidobe Awuzie. But he goes by, for short, Cheeto. Kind of sounds like the chip Cheeto, but with a D, Cheeto, because it's Cheeto Bay, so just Cheeto. So just call me Chi or Cheeto. So if you want to call him Cheeto, I would highly recommend it, because I like that signing. I like the signing. He's a very solid number 2 boundary corner. I was a little worried because I was kind of afraid he was gonna have the Nick Westbrook-Akina treatment, where he's just playing like, you don't want Cheeto following around the number one wide receiver. You know what I'm trying to say? Shadowing. That's what I'm looking for. So I love the pick. I think it was a great deal. We didn't break the bank. We gave him a good amount of money, but we didn't break the bank for him. It was a 3-year, 36, I think, so he's making about 12-ish a year. I liked it as a number 2, but I was worried about number 1.
Yeah, so you said everything that I was going to say. You said everything I was going to say is I liked him better as a 2 than 1, and I was worried that he was a number 1. But I like him a lot as a 2. I'm perfectly okay with that. I like it. Got nothing to say bad about this draft, not draft, but signing now. Because at first, again, we thought he was the 1. He's a 2. I like it 2. Like it a lot. And all of a sudden, cornerbacks went straight from a weakness to maybe even a strength.
I would agree, especially once we get to the end of this list. But yeah, I feel a lot better if we were playing, say, the Bengals. Which is where he came from. I would much rather Chidobe Awuzie to cover T. Higgins than Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of my favorite signings. Next, this one is a very good signing in my opinion as well. Lloyd Cushenberry. We gave him a 4-year, actually we gave him a longer one, a 4-year deal, which I forget what he's making. It's like 14-ish million a year, which isn't terrible for a top center. It was kind of down between Connor Williams and Lloyd Cushenberry on who the top center in the free agency was, but Connor Williams tore his ACL late.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people just basically said Lloyd Cushenberry was the best center available, and we went out and we got him, which is going to be such a huge, huge upgrade over Aaron Brewer, who was just – a lot of people loved him for being a dog, as they call him, for being a dog in the run game. But I'm like, but he's a liability in the pass game. It's a passing league.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I agree.
Good signing.
Nothing to say about that. Nothing against it. Love it. We got a good signing of center. We got Peter Skronsky, who I think we'll have, who's going to be good. Now we have Lloyd Cushenberry, I think is good. If we get a tackle in the first round, that's going to be 3 good pieces. I am a little scared about the other tackle. And Brunskill, I don't think. Okay, I was just say this: if Brunskill is the worst guy in your line, you're doing well. And so, well, he's not going to be the worst because he's probably going to be the right tackle. But Brunskill's not bad. He's not terrible. So I'm liking the offensive line a little bit. I didn't expect us to get Lloyd Cushenberry. I really didn't actually. I actually thought we would go more tackle in the free agency. But I'm not complaining in the sense that he's so much better than Aaron Brewer.
So many times it's in the NFL, it's so extreme. It's not what you know, but who you know. And the fact that no player or coach or anything on our team that I can remember has anything to do with the Broncos and Lloyd Cushenberry. So I do agree. It was a need. We needed a center. He's a free agent center, but there just was nothing really that seemed to link us to him. So I'm just really glad we were able to come away with him. Okay. Another good signing there. We got one more signing, and then obviously the trade. The signing that took everybody by storm, because everybody was saying Calvin Ridley is either going back with the Jags or the Patriots are sticking around, which I'm not sure why. The Patriots don't even have a quarterback right now. So I don't blame him for not wanting to go there. Right now, I guess Bailey Zappi's their starter.
I think a lot of people is already signing them up as a quarterback in the draft. So if Calvin Ridley went though, he's going to probably assume they're getting his QB in the draft.
Which a lot of wide receivers don't like to go play. Like veteran wide receivers don't like to go play with a rookie quarterback because they might be just absolutely awful, and then they're just running routes all day for exercise, basically. So yes, Tennessee Titans, $92 million 4-year deal for Calvin Ridley. I'm going to let you lead this one off since I think I've jumped in at the beginning every single time.
I like him. To me, I think he's good, but not great. I think he's definitely, and he still could be the best receiver we have right now. Obviously, Hopkins is what.
I was going to say, before you go any further, I'm going to say one thing that's interesting thought. My hands look weird. Does my hand look weird?
No,
blue background? Okay, I mean, just the normal weirdness. Anyways. Yeah. With the free agency market, it. How much? Wow, why can't I say words? I can't say words today. It dried up, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because there was so many big names. Mike Evans never ended up seeing free agency. Yeah. Michael Pittman Jr. never ended up seeing free agency. T. Higgins got tagged, never ended up seeing free agency.
I wanted T. Higgins. I still want him to be honest.
So did I. So in the end, he was technically the biggest name /
Thing is
biggest
available.
production wide receiver that's
Yeah.
available. But go ahead. Sorry.
So I still he might be our number one receiver. You know, he might be better than Hopkins. But the thing where Hopkins is right now in his career, and then where Calvin Ridley is both fringe 1,000-yard receivers. Would you say that's safe to say? And I
They
think that's
both
fine,
had over 1,000 last year,
but not
but
by
neither of them
much.
had 1,100.
Yeah, I think if you have two people that can get you 1,000, that's good. I still think we need just one more good piece. Like, even if it's a 700, 800 yards, if we could get one more good receiver, I would love it. Maybe I'm being overdoing it here, but I think he's good. But I don't want no one to think that he's going to be a 12, 13, 1,400 yard receiver.
Yeah,
That's
he only
not
did
him.
that once in his career, and he did that with Julio Jones. I think he had 13 or 1,400 yards, and Julio Jones was on the other side of the field.
Yeah, don't expect that. But I think he's a good signing, and I'm not going to complain about it much at all. I think the money's a little high, and because I saw someone say something like, "Wait, so you'll give this money for Calvin Ridley, but you're not going to give AJ Brown the money he deserves?" Because no doubts about it, AJ Brown's a lot better than Calvin Ridley. That's true, but the damage has already been done, and so I'm just not going to cry over spilled milk anymore.
Plus, that's the old GM, the old head coach. That was a whole new different regimen. Plus, the caps went up by like 30 million since then. So technically, this contract is percentage of your roster or percentage of your salary cap space is a less percent than the AJ Brown would have been.
Yeah, but I'll say this
I'd still take AJ Brown over Calvin Ridley, but
to conclude, if you have Hopkins 1 or 2, Ridley 1 and 2, you got Will Levis something to work with, and that's good. So I'm okay with it. Still, maybe you get a third receiver, maybe in a draft. We can talk about that later, but I'm okay with it. Like, no complaints here, really.
Yeah, I think it was a good deal. I agree with you. Plus, the way the cap keeps rising, and a lot of people saying this, I think by next year, the cap will rise. 1, 2, Justin Jefferson will have gotten paid. Jamar Chase will have gotten paid. There's a couple other guys, and they said once that happens, he'll be down to like the 15th or 16th highest paid wide receiver.
I'll say something, and it's weird to hear me say this, okay? And I don't want to digress too much because we still got to talk about one more guy. I almost feel, and I am a person, I love good receivers. Like, I think I hated the fact that Titans just never have good receivers hardly at all. I think having big receivers are huge, but sometimes I think you can't give, like, someone like Justin Jefferson is amazing, but I have a feeling when he gets his contract, it's going to be so expensive. I'm like, you can't just put all that money on one target, because if he gets hurt, then you're going to have no one else behind him because he's getting paid so much money. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm like, that's the problem of having someone like Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase. They're going to get so much money. And I'm like, you can't give just one target that much money.
Yeah, but I agree. Especially when you think about wide receivers can get hurt so easily.
Yes, they do.
And suddenly you're paying that much money for nothing.
Yes, exactly.
So much.
So what I'm trying to say is, maybe having a fringe 1,000 yards with Hopkins, a fringe 1,000 with Ridley, and then if we can get someone else that's like a 700, 800 yards, that's a good strategy to me.
I really wish Traylon Burks would somewhat live up to the hype, because I did something yesterday or the day before. It's Traylon Burks' birthday, so there's this one account that I follow on X, No Context Titans. Shout out to that channel. But he uploaded like basically every catch Traylon Burks has ever made in the NFL. And I'm just watching him. He jumps over, somebody catches a pass, catches a bunch of deep ones, gets some slants. I'm looking at him thinking, why can't you just always do this?
I don't know. Last year was way worse than the first year. First year was injuries that bothered him. But really, playing, we didn't have much to say bad about his play.
No.
Last year, he was bad in every way imaginable. He couldn't catch. It had to be a head thing because he couldn't catch. It had to be just a mindset.
And it's not like Tannehill has the strongest arm. It's not like Tannehill is just zipping them in there. Yeah. Now, Will Levis probably will, but regardless. Well, plus he likes to drop bombs too. There's been some bombs where he's just kind of running, and just before the ball even gets to him, he just starts tripping for no reason, just kind of falls over. He needs to learn to keep his feet because he's caught several bombs, and after catching them, it falls down. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But I see what you mean. If we get like 700 out of Burks and get right at 1,000 out of both D Hop and Calvin Ridley,
that's good.
It'd be the best wide receiver trio I can ever remember as having.
Yes. Yep.
But that was a very good signing as well. Very good. Very happy about it. Heck yeah. Lastly, and this was crazy that this happened, the trade for Jarius Sneed. And the crazy thing that happened is it happened at 11 o'clock Eastern time, but it happened at 11 o'clock at night. I was literally dozing in and out, had my phone. I was ready to literally roll over, plug up my phone, and go to sleep. Somebody said, let me see if anything's going on Twitter before I go to bed. Hit refresh. And immediately, Legarius Sneed had just gotten traded, like right then. I'm like, what the heck? But I was only like half asleep. Like I didn't even text you about it. Normally something big like that happened.
Day, and I thought I was telling you breaking news, but I guess you already knew, huh?
Yeah, I saw. I'm like, this is amazing. This is awesome. I was out, but it was also a crazy time for it to drop. But that's huge. Not only is it huge, but Grant Carthon worked a little magic on this one. Reason because Chiefs wanted a second round pick for him. We didn't give him the second round pick because we didn't. Well, we have one, but it's 38th overall. I'm so glad we didn't part with that one because I would have been against this. I'll be honest with you. I would have been against this if it was the 38th overall pick in this year's draft.
Okay. Can I ask you a question though?
Yes.
With the 38th pick in the draft, will that talent be as good as Sneed? That's my question.
Probably not, but also it's not going to be used on a cornerback. Actually, let me put it this way. If you use a second-round pick on a cornerback, yeah, it would not be as good as Legarius Sneed, but we really either need to go one more wide receiver because DeAndre Hopkins will be a free agent next year. So either we need to go wide receiver, or if we do go wide receiver in the first round, which apparently that's still very much on the table, which now that sounds like too many mouths to feed, but then we'd need to go tackle in the second round. So that would be my thing against that one. But anyways, we gave him the third instead of a second, and we gave him a third next year. The only way it's affecting us this year is we're doing a seventh round swap. So they're getting a higher seventh round, and we're getting a less of a seventh round.
You just told me that for the first time. I didn't realize it was third round next year.
Yeah, so we still have because we didn't have a third round this year, sadly, because Will Levis. Yeah, so it's a third round next year and a seventh round swap this year. And apparently Legarius Sneed wanted to be the highest paid corner, which made like 23, 24 million a year, but he's only going to do about 19 million a year. So we even got him about 3 or 4 million cheaper. So Grant Carthon worked a little magic.
That was good.
I fully endorse this.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And the reason, I kind of see where you're coming from with even the second round pick. But I'll say this: today's NFL has a epidemic, or whatever. It has a real crisis on its hand when it comes to shut down corners. They just don't exist anymore. There's literally a handful of them. I do not know why. Maybe it's the rules of the NFL. I don't know. Cornerbacks do not shut down people down anymore.
And they don't last long if they do. I feel like if they do, they last like 3 years, and then boom, they're just like gone.
But I don't know why that is. But you're right. But right now, as it stands, Sneed is a shutdown cornerback. He was amazing last year.
I was watching some of his film from last year, and he's just aggressive.
He locks people down, and it is going to be nice to have a cornerback like that. Someone you can say, hey, who knows? Maybe Jamar Chase won't cook us today. Or who knows? Maybe Justin Jefferson won't cook us today. It's going to be nice to have that. And it frees stuff up. You're like, what do you mean? You can leave him on the island, Sneed, and that makes you mix things up with the safeties and stuff like that. Where you don't have to always give help over there because he locks it down. You know what I mean? So I love it. Because I was getting a little concerned. I'm like, we let some people walk a defense. I'm still thinking our defense could be worse, like a good bit worse than it was last year. But Sneed changes everything to me. And then you have Uwuze at the number 2. That okay, now our defense may not actually take a jump.
Roger McCreary's good in the slot. Struggles on the outside. He really does struggle on the outside. He only ever plays there because of injury, but good in the slot. And maybe this is me being a little too dramatic, but if I stop and think about what position group is best on our team, it might be corner. It could be cornerback.
Because it was a big weakness. Now, with the secondary, before I get complete confident, we got to figure out what we want to do.
One more safety.
Yes.
I think we have a visit with Marcus May.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what it is. I really wanted Justin Simmons, but with all that money we threw at Sneed, all that money we're throwing at Cushionberry and all the other people, we might not be able to pull off the Justin Simmons. Yeah. But I would be okay with a Marcus May, I believe. He'd be fine.
Yeah. So anyway, I like it. I like it a lot. And again, there's very few shutdown cornerbacks, but now we have one that resides in Tennessee. So I'm really happy about that. Really excited.
And just the improvement over Fulton and Bunting.
Yeah.
And Trey Avery. Trey Avery played a lot the last 2 years.
Yeah, we are a lot better. Great stuff. Love it. And overall, I think I give this, if I had to grade this offseason so far, free agency / trade, I would give it a good A. What about you?
I was going to say A-. The only thing keeping it from being an A is the fact that neither tackle position has been addressed yet.
Well, that's why I'm pretty confident the left tackle is going to be draft in the first round. I can't guarantee Joe Alt will be though, but if he is, probably him. But
It's looking like it's to be more and more likely because they said the Chargers were the biggest threat to getting Joe Alt, but they traded Keenan Allen, cut Mike Williams. They have no wide receivers right now.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure we'll address that. But I will say, because the reason I said A, not A+, because I love most of these moves. The reason I didn't say A+ is just because that right tackle is a huge question mark, huge. But if that is the only weakness, because last year basically everybody was bad besides Peter Skoronski, everyone's bad. But if we have Brunskill can hold his own, Christian Berry, Skoronski, Joe Alt. Like, that is pretty good forward, though. If you only have one weakness, it's easier to help that one weakness. You that's where we're going to struggle. Tight ends stay in, running backs help. Yeah. So, because when you have all 5 offensive lines suck, how do you chip
They're just all bad. Yeah. They're just like, they're all bad, so let's just let them be on an island, just hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly. So. But if you only have one weakness, it's easier to help that guy out. You know what I mean? So that might be our strategy, because right now, I don't like what we're going to do right tackle. And again, that's why it's not an A+ this offseason. But honestly, there's not a move that I'm like, I hate that.
Yeah,
my least favorite. The least favorite one
linebacker.
Yeah, that's my least favorite. But I don't hate it enough to say, oh, that's an F right there. I'm just like. Because sadly, in today's NFL, the position linebacker is less important than it used to be. So if we had to be weak somewhere, if you said, Josiah, what do you want to be weak at and the Titans roster, linebacker might be what I say, to be honest. In today's NFL, yeah.
I do agree. I do agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say this is the best / most exciting free agency we've had in a long time.
One thing I will say, we talked about this off air. But one thing I'll say this, we did say this, but do you agree though that we shouldn't be in a rebuild right now with this talent? Like, we quickly went from, we gotta go rebuild. Now I'm looking at this roster like, why can't we win the AFC South? You know what I mean?
Especially if we draft well.
Yes, I agree. But here's the thing, and I think you agree with this, but if we just say win 6 games or less, like we won 6 this year, right? So if we do that again or less, it has to mean there's a problem with Callahan or Will Levis. Because,
and both of them would be bad.
Yes, because I'm still thinking, okay, Will Levis, you got enough talent here. You can't say you're talentless. With Marcus Mariota, there's so many times like, is he bad or is he just, you don't give this guy any kind of help at all. And I thought it was going to be the same thing with Will Levis maybe going into the season. But if you've got Hopkins, Chig, what's the receiver we just signed?
Calvin Ridley.
Yes, Calvin Ridley. You got Tony Pollard. You got Tajay Spears. I'm like,
offensive line rebuild.
An offensive line protect. If you can't make this work, we quickly can tell, okay, we got to go somewhere. It's a different direction with quarterback, which is good for Will Levis. He's set up to succeed, but which I think our patience with him may not last as long as some quarterbacks because he's got weapons now and a decent offensive line. Weapons. Yeah. Anyway, so I just have to say that it's like if we do bad this year, I think it's probably Will Levis. Obviously, Callahan is not going to go anywhere after one season. I think Will Levis, he needs to show some strides going forward after this offseason we had.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, so many people I hear, they're just like, just casually talking like, oh yeah, Titans ain't doing anything this year. They'll probably be picking top 10 again. I've been talking, I'm like, so if that happens, that means Will Levis is not the answer.
Yes,
or
absolutely.
Brian Callahan's really bad at calling an offense.
Because
he's got both.
He's got stuff. Yeah, I completely agree. If we are bad, just a top 10 pick again next year, Will Levis has got to go.
Because so far we haven't done the draft. The draft is a roll of the dice. You never know who the people are going to be like. But we've done free agency. These people, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, these are established players. We know they're good already.
Yes.
So I completely agree. If we end up anything worse than 8-9, I hope we make better than 8-9. But technically, that's a 2-game improvement. But anything worse than 8-9, that's an absolute, in my opinion, a fail of a season.
Yeah, I said 6 wins, but I kind of agree with what you said. Even 7 wins, probably, I agree. I'm like, Will Levis, you got some weapons here. And that's one thing they said against him in Kentucky. That wasn't his fault, but why his numbers didn't look great. Like, he didn't have the best receivers. He had a horrible offensive line. And then he went to Tennessee with bad receivers and a horrible offensive line. So, he struggled with not having help around him. But maybe the first time in his career, he has an offense to work with him. And I hope for the best. I hope he's the answer. I hope he, does well. But if he doesn't, he has no excuse.
No, I agree because D-Hop is basically open even if he looks covered.
Yeah.
And Calvin Ridley is very good at creating separation.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have some of the best in the NFL check down options. If covered, drop it to Tony Pollard, and he makes 11, 12, 15 yards out of it. So no excuse, in my opinion. No excuse. Especially when he's either going to, with the 7th overall pick, he's either going to get another flashy weapon to throw to or some serious blindside protection.
Yep. And I will say this. This is, how I think we've done well in the offseason is Gabriel. I always say he's a very optimistic fan. He always sees good and when I think there is none. And then Gabriel, will always say, am a fan who always look at the wrong glasses half empty kind of guy, And I told myself not to do this because I was so mad at Titans when the season ended. But here I am in March, and I'm excited for the next next season. I think we got enough talent to win the AFC South. I really do. And I know we just came off of 6-10, but I'm like, I hate to say it, but I'm excited for the Titans now.
I mean, to be able to win a game, you have to be able to throw the ball and you have to stop the pass. And we just added a bunch of great pass catcher in Calvin Ridley and some really good secondary options.
Yep.
So, and some help on the O-line. So, I mean, yeah, I'm excited. I'm trying to temper it down because I picked the Titans to go 11-6 in 2023. Which is betraying my own heart. Which was betraying my own heart because in my mind I was like 10-7, and then I ended up because 10-7, 6-11 is still a big difference. But still,
I would say this: neither of us had 6 wins though. I mean, I said 8-9, and you was like 8-9, and even I was like, was that too harsh? Maybe I should go 9-8. There was
that O-line was so bad.
Yeah,
and Tannehill fell off a darn cliff.
Oh, he did.
And the 2 best players in the offseason was Christian Fulton and Treylon Burks. Them 2 were just dominant all offseason long. And then both of them were just garbage.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Everything's a prediction. Everything's a roll of the dice.
And we'll change conversation here. But that's a good conversation. We just discussed, I think, nicely all these free agent signings. And I think that's it.
Good job, Ryan. You swung for the fences.
He did good.
Got a couple home runs.
We'll see what it looks like. But yes, I will give him a nod.
You give him an A-. A. You gave him an A. I gave him an A-.
So I think he did well. Now, granted, it's easy to do well when you have
cash
money.
So you have a lot of cash. It's easy to pick up some big name people.
He did well.
Money talks.
Good job, Dub.
Yeah. Good job, Brand.
Don't let your job ain't done yet. You got to draft.
No, it's not. Got to draft well, which is honestly what got J-Rob fired. His inability to draft.
But I would say this, though. The problem with the draft, and this is true with free agency, but it's even more true with the draft because you don't see them. You haven't seen them in the pros yet. You can do a draft grade as soon as the draft is over, but you have to almost wait till the season is over to really say, that was a good draft pick. That was a good draft pick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Roll the dice.
There was some John Robinson picks when the draft is over. You're like, okay, that was good. That was good. That was good. But then they turn out bust. And you know what I mean? So
it works the right position. They had production in college. Never translated.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, now we're talking.
But anyways, let's say it was a great free agency. Obviously, we're both super pumped about it. We are now in the next coming weeks. We'll probably in our videos be turning our attention to the draft, and that's exciting.
About a month away.
Let's say it is currently the 24th, the day of this recording, the 24th of March. So about a month away from the NFL draft. And we'll see if we just keep on cooking. I think that's all I have. You got anything else you want to add before we get on out of here?
The NFL draft starts at the 25th of April. So tomorrow will be a month. So anyway, I got nothing to say besides good job on Carthon. Go Titans. We'll tighten up. And you actually made this little pessimistic fan happy.
We'll see how long that lasts. So that's all we have. Tighten up. See you in the next one.